is our motto. Sometimes we win, sometimes we don't win. Don't give us the credit, don't give us your stink eye. We try our best and we're successful. Come watch our show. It's time to start, enjoy the show.
Welcome in, everyone, to a very special Betting Weekly Live today. This is going to be an Open Championship preview 2025. I'm joined by two of the very best golf handicappers in the business, Simon Holden and Neil Channing. Very, very excited for the final major of the year. Simon, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, mate. It's great to be here with you and Neil, and I'm really looking forward to it. I think this is the most wide open major of the year, and I think by definition that makes it the most exciting.
Neil, this is now the final major of the year. It always used to be the third major. It feels like almost more rides on it now. I'm actually more excited about it as well. How are you feeling?
It's weird, isn't it? Yeah, I know what you mean. I think this is I don't know whether this is a brag or a negative brag, but I think there's a first time for years where I've got to the fourth major and I haven't bet one of the other three winners. So I'm feeling like more under pressure than usual. But I'm also like excited about it because it's the Open, and that is one of the highlights of the sporting year. I always think that the Masters is my favorite tournament, and then on the day before the Open, I'm like, no, the Open is, and then next spring I'll be like, no, the Masters is. So I don't know. But you know, one of the obviously I'm sure we'll come on to this, but one of the beauties of this tournament is that whereas with the Masters, you play on the same course every single year. Now with the Open, you play on the same kind of type of golf every single year, but it's a completely different type of golf that these players play most of the rest of the year. So that's a randomizing factor. The weather is a randomizing factor, and the fact that you've got people from the European Tour playing with people from the PGA Tour, and now of course we've got the LIV Tour as well. So you've got a whole bunch of people that don't meet each other all that often. It just makes it really a lot harder to handicap, I think, which makes it more fun. But it also makes the favourites. You know, we've been looking at. I happily made the case for jumping on Scotty Scheffler less than 3-1 in our last major, and this time round, I'm looking at 6-1 maybe in places, and I'm thinking, yeah, maybe not, which seems a bit crazy, doesn't it? I'm getting double the odds.
Do you know, it's interesting you say there you're feeling not a bit of pressure, but you want to get a golf major winner this year. Imagine how the players are feeling. This is their last chance until April. I mean, all right, from the actual fans' perspective, at least we've got the Ryder Cup this year in September to sort of, give us a bit of a sweetener. But it's a long wait until the next major. Welcoming everyone here live on YouTube. We're also live on X today and Twitch. So put in your comments, your best bets for the Open. Best bets anywhere. There's other sporting events, of course, going around in the world. Byron Murrell, good to see you. He likes Charlotte and Philly today in the MLS. Philip Towler, good to see you. Real Brandon King is enjoying seeing Simon and Neil on the show. William Jenner, did you get on them Lincoln Red Imps yesterday, William? They just came through in the 96th minute. Boilo Charles as well, great to see you. Byron Murrell and Meninda Pira. And yeah, we will talk about Scotty Scheffler, of course we will. The Open Championship, the first thing I've got to mention is a Bet Rivers House special. Well, I say special, it's one of those you've got to just log into your Bet Rivers account, place a pre-tournament bet on the Open, and you'll get a free 30% profit boost. This is the last day to do it. 30% profit boost on all those bets. So make sure you get on. There's also some Open Championship specials, which I will talk about as the show goes on. But this is a major, Neil mentioned it, it goes around different courses. And most of them are pretty well known. We've seen loads of them down the years. Royal Portrush, this is, I think, only the third time it's hosting it. The second time in the last 6 years, 2019 when Shane Lowry won. So it's a bit of a unique venue. We need to find out more about the golf course and what type of golfer are you looking at here in terms of profile, Simon? Are there any particular stats that would point you in the right direction here for this golf tournament?
Well, I think that this isn't a beast as long as nature doesn't give it a hand. So the first 3 days, the last time it was here 6 years ago, there were players, well, Shane Lowry, of course, shot 63 on the Saturday, one of the great open rounds. But Tommy Fleetwood shot 3 rounds in the 60s. Lee Westwood shot 3 rounds in the 60s. And then on Sunday, we got what the locals call Course A, where the wind blew and the rain fell heavily. All these players that were shooting in the 60s started to shoot 74, 75, 77. And these were like links course specialists. These were the top 10 that had been burning it up all week. Now, I think that was the outlier round. And of course, the weather, the British and Irish summer, we thought we had this kind of endless Saturday night of hot weather and we were going to get firm and fast links. But in the last week, the weather has changed. And of course, the single most important factor in any links course is Mother Nature. And the outlier round the Sunday last time, I think he's going to be at least 2 rounds, possibly 3. And that presents us with a fascinating puzzle. Do we look at the people who played well on what we would say is Course B, the easy course? Of course, not that easy. The cut was at 1 over, but the ability to shoot rounds in the 60s. I'll make a prediction. I'm not sure there'll be more than 4 or 5 people under par at the end of play tomorrow. We are going to get gusty wind. These guys, if you tell them it's a 10-mile-an-hour wind, they'll work out and start adjusting. If you tell them it's a 10-mile-an-hour wind that might be 25-mile-an-hour, 30-mile-an-hour gusts, they start to get extremely agitated. We're going to get some bad weather in the morning, and we're going to get not as bad weather late on. But if we get this course playing tough tomorrow, we are going to immediately see who fancies it, who can handle it, and who's going to be in a big heap of trouble. So I think tomorrow is always a significant day, but I think tomorrow is going to be absolutely key for us to get a look at these players.
I've been looking at the weather forecast for this week, and look, these sort of areas around the coast are notoriously difficult to predict, but wind direction really interests me. Thursday, it's going to be a southerly wind. Friday, it goes from south to then a northerly wind during the day. On Saturday, we're going to get east-northeast, and then on Sunday, we're going to get west-northwest. I mean, this is ridiculous. Adaptability, is that something you're going to be looking at golfer this week, Neil, when you're backing them?
Well, I think the way to measure that is basically to say, do they have an open record? People that have played well on links golf courses in the past, and first of all, we should probably say that Portrush is a different kind of links golf course. Links golf courses, for people that are not familiar with that term, it basically is a course that's set up by the seaside, by the beach. So, there are sand dunes, just a few hundred yards away from the course, and the wind blows in from the sea, and it makes for very interesting golf. The reason that Portrush is different is that it has very raised greens. So in other links golf, it's quite common that people scuttle it along the fairway, keep the ball low, and it just kind of bounces a few times and goes towards the hole. You can't really do that here. You've got to keep it in the air because the greens are, above your head when you're playing your second shot sometimes. So, and that means that if it hadn't have rained, you'd have seen balls landing on the green or bouncing on the green and then rolling off. Now it's softened up a bit. That's going to change. But I do think, despite the fact that it's slightly different from, some links golf courses that we normally play the Open on, I think it's quite important to look through and say, so in this century, I think we've only had 2 people who have won the Open on their first attempt at the Open. Colin Morikawa was one. You're gonna have to remind me who the other one was now. I've slightly forgotten, but it was the guy who was like 400 to 1.
Ben Curtis.
Anyway, Ben Curtis, yes. Anyway, so I think you need the experience. If you want to rule out people that haven't had a top 10 in the Open, I think that's quite a good way of judging people's experience. So that would be the end of Ludwig Aberg. That would be the end of Matt Fitzpatrick. That would be the end of Jürgen Niemann. That would be the end of Justin Thomas. That would be the end of Ryan Fox. That would be the end of Sam Burns. That would be the end of Aaron Rye. That would be the end of Corey Connors. I don't know. Can you argue with that, Simon? Are you going to make a case for saying you could get any of those back in it?
That's key. I think whatever you can do to sort of get the list of the players in front and be able to get that pen and do what Neil's just sort of saying, right, of course you're going to get people who are in your brushed out that shock. But as a rule of thumb, if you can start whittling this down to say 40, 50 people, that's
I'm
going to be
a massive one for that.
Help.
That's my process from the start, is just to get rid of, you know, a bunch of people in one go. Another thing I looked at, which I think is huge here, is greens and regulation. I think this is a course that rewards people with silky smooth irons. Your iron players, your ball strikers are the ones that do well. This is not a course for people that boom down the middle. You won't even need the driver, really. There's only 3 par 5s on the course of a par 71. I can't have Bryson DeChambeau on my mind. This is not a course that's built for him. I wouldn't back him at twice the price. So I'm definitely not going to have him. But I looked at greens and regulation, and you know, some people are just like Sepp Straka is 4th in the rankings on that, you know, but he's you know, something like the 15th favorite for this tournament. I think he's a great bet. I really like him. He does well on par 5 scoring. I think with 3 par 5s, I think you got to get your score there. I think that helps. You definitely get your score going out on this course. The first 6 holes are key, and coming back, if you can just hold on to that score. If people are betting and running, that's a good thing to know. You know, don't get too excited thinking, oh, you know, this guy's going to build on what he's done with the last 9 holes still to play. Having more holes to play at that stage could be a negative, really, rather than being in the clubhouse. So I'd be wary of that. The other thing is that in all links golf, I think a massive thing is how you avoid trouble. So you know, you're going to miss the green from time to time. So you've got to be good with the short game. People that are good at scrambling and people that are good on shots gained around the green. And there are people in this tournament that are quite short in the betting who are terrible at those things. Yeah. I think Xander Schauffele is really bad with scrambling now. Aberg, I think, is kind of well known that he's not brilliant at that. And obviously the one that's really bad is Hovland. You know, he's just terrible at that kind of sand save stuff. And, you know, the little chip shots and whatever, they could go anywhere with him. So there'll be 3 people I'm just crossing off. I know Schauffele won before, but he's kind of a different player now. He's had his injury and he's come back, and he's a slightly different player. I can't really have him at all. The other thing, I'll let you speak in a second. So I'm sorry, I know I'm going on, but the other thing that I think is quite key in terms of the driving, where I said it's not like a big driving distance thing. I think you can mark people up for driving accuracy. So if you look at the favourites, you know, Scheffler is the reason that Scheffler's number 1 for strokes gained off the tee, and Rory's number 5. But the reason that Rory's number 5 is because he's very long off the tee, and the reason that Scheffler's number 1. I'm not saying, I'm saying the reason that they're both good, not the reason that why one's 4 places above the other. The reason that they're both good, Rory's good because he's very long, and Scheffler's good because he's very accurate, and he's slightly long and he's pretty accurate. So he's got the combination, whereas Rory's got the length without the accuracy. And I think, you know, you can give up the length this week as long as you've got the accuracy. So if you had to pick between the 2 favourites, I would definitely prefer Scheffler to Rory. There might be other factors as well. The mental game with Rory coming back here after a disaster 6 years ago, the extra pressure of being the kind of local boy and the media and all the fans and everything like that. Scheffler, obviously, he's got loads of media and fans and people with autographs and selfies, but you know, it's a bit different for Rory this week. I would much prefer in a 72-hole match between Scheffler and Rory. I would definitely want to be on Scheffler.
I've just got some interesting stats on the last 7 major winners in terms of the odds.
Oh, yeah, go on.
Yeah, I mean, if we look at 2024, Scotty Scheffler won the Masters 5-1. Xander Schauffele won the PGA at 14-1. Bryson DeChambeau won the US Open 20-1. Xander won the Open last year. It was just 12-1. Then Rory, of course, won the Masters this year 13-2. And the PGA Championship, Scotty Scheffler was 9-2. That actually looks a really big price looking back. And then, out of nowhere, JJ Spawn, 150-1 winner in the US Open. Now, Simon, you've got some interesting stats about this particular major in the past. It is a sort of place where we might be able to find some big price, if not a winner, certainly in the places.
Well, it is. And I think following on from something Neil said on the dojo about this is the one that has got more uncertainty built into it. But I mean, listen to some of these prices. These are in the last 4, 5, 6 years. Last year, of course, Xander won. Billy Horschel was second at 250s. Justin Rose was joint second at 150. And Tristan Lawrence, South African, came fourth at 600-1. And our pal Russell Henley was fifth at 125. So, I mean, incredible. 2023, Brian Harman wins at 110-1. Sepp Straka, the man we think is going to have a good week, 200s there in joint second. Emiliano Grillo placed in sixth at 350-1. We've got Kevin Kistner placing at 300s, Kevin Chappell at 250, Eddie Pepperell placing at 175-1. These are all in the last 5 years. I mean, my message to anybody was, if you fancy somebody at a big price this week, fight that little voice that says, oh, they won't be there. It'll all be the top boys. This is one where you can do it. And of course, you know, you're never going to have a 250-1 golf winner unless you start betting 250-1 golfers. It may sound like bleeding obvious, but trust me, this is one where if you have a go and you've got reasons and you've got some evidence, and there are big price people today who you can point to 2 or 3 pieces of strong evidence that they're a play this week. So when you throw the curveball of the weather and the unpredictable nature of the wind, the last time this major was played here, the wind was in the same direction all 4 days. So the guys started to get a handle. If you shoot a 4-iron and it's 10, it drops 20 yards, whatever. Now they're going to be looking about, well, it did that yesterday, it did that today. And of course, Scotty suffering from that issue with the slice drive, which kind of really hurt him at the US Open, hurt him at the PGA, but he's so good, he still wins. Hurt him at the US Open. He was playing so many second shots out of the rough. The genius of the man, that there was a time on the Sunday, and I'm sure Neil got some of these messages that I was getting, that some of the big syndicates on the morning of the last round were going steaming in on Scotty, thinking he could get it going. And he was so many things went wrong for the guy. So he, in a match bet with Rory, yeah, definitely.
He's got 16% of the money is on Scotty Scheffler in this with Bet Rivers. I'm just going to put the odds on screen now. We're going to talk about the top 4 or 5 in the market. Scotty Scheffler plus 500. Bet Rivers are offering a fifth of the odds. 7 places here. Scotty Scheffler plus 500. Rory McIlroy plus 700. John Rahm 11-1. Bryson DeChambeau 20-1, along with Xander Schauffele. Now the top 3 in the market there: Scheffler, McIlroy, Rahm. They carry about 30% of the money between them 3 of them, and knocking on the door about 25% of the tickets. So, I mean, you both sort of talked about Scheffler, McIlroy, John Rahm. Obviously, they're the 3 sort of big favourites here. Would you have either of them in this particular major right now? Would there be a back or a fade?
Rahm is definitely interesting because, he's pretty solid in the majors. And, although he's in his time of going to live, he had a little bit of a time where he didn't really look like he was doing it in the majors. He's come back quite strong this year, and he seems to be playing well, and he places quite often. I never will really want to back him at at these kind of prices, close to single figures, because I feel like his temperament. This is going to be raining a lot. They're going to be cleaning off club heads. They're going to be wiping the grips and everything. There's going to be a lot of standing around. And you see him miss one shot, and it's like he wants to smash all his clubs up. And I just think, you just want to take a chill pill, John, for God's sake. You're a multi-gazillionaire playing a game that you love, that you've done all your life. You've got kids, you've got, all the money you could eat. Like, why are you getting so upset? It's just a round of golf, for God's sake. It's your job.
Let's get that on a banner.
Yeah.
Are you having Rahm, Simon? here?
I think we said the last time, and I'm of the opinion, like Neil, that Rahm's kind of got his head back together a little bit after the initial live move. Now my pen's gone through the live guys, and I've cut them out. So that's
no, I sort of agree with you. Of the shorter price live guys, I mean, I definitely can't have like Brooks Koepka. I really can't have Jochen Niemann. Don't think this is not his game of golf at all. But I think Hatton is interesting. I'm definitely going to back Hatton.
I think he's interested in top live. I think he's a bet in the top live. But you've just hit upon the reason why. I agree with you on Rahm, and also Rahm's been a slow starter. I'm not sure you want to have a really bad day tomorrow and give yourself like
no. You definitely this is actually a tournament where if you're there early, you're going to be there late.
You loiter.
That happens all the time in the Open. That like if someone shoots 63 in the first round, they're just in the top
they're going to be there,
2-3 groups at the end.
Neil, if you had to bet
about temperament, Steve, it's really important.
Yeah.
In the last 9 holes of the US Open, the favourite changed 4 or 5 times. Tyrrell Hatton was the shortest price that anybody went to until very late on with Spawn. He turned round to his caddy and said, I won't give the exact quote with a reasonably family audience, but this is stupid, was his phrase. And he used a few of the choice ones about the thing.
Well, it was a bit, wasn't it? It was a bit ridiculous.
Well, it was a little bit, but there's an element of the theatrics from him and the antics have got worse since he went to live. The theatrics and the antics from Rahm have got worse since he went to live. And I don't know whether they're encouraged to do it, but I just think if you're going to be here, everyone's going to make mistakes. Everyone's going to be punished for very good golf. And that's what set Hatton off. The idea that something out of his control had gone wrong, and he seemed to get I
guess in terms of being punished for good golf, I guess the rain is probably going to make it less of a random thing in that way. Like the balls are not going to suddenly bounce off the fairway into a bunker because they're just going to stick. And these bunkers are magnets, but they're less magnets when the ground's really damp underfoot. I don't know whether that might make it slightly. Although I said before how random it is, that might make it slow. What did you think of my stats anyway? Do you think greens of regulation, scrambling shots gained around the green, and maybe driving accuracy, would they be your main ones, or have you got any that I've kind of missed out that I should have looked at?
At the risk of us beginning to agree, Tanners, my 3 here are accuracy off the tee on these narrow fairways. Yeah. Scrambling usually for an open, but when you've got raised greens, you've got to be sticking on them. So actually, for the first Open, basically since it was last at Portrush, I think greens in regulation is probably more key than scrambling.
I actually think greens in regulation is number one. That's the biggest one, I think. Yeah. It was a slight shame for my main pick. My main pick is Tommy Fleetwood.
He's a scrambler.
And he's a scrambler, and he's good around the green. But his greens of regulation, he's actually below average, which is weird, really. But he is a great iron player. His strokes gained approach, he's 9th on the tour. And driving accuracy is 38th. He's got everything. He's just a tiny bit below average on greens of regulation. If it wasn't for that, I think I'd be back in the truck up here.
Tommy's your main pick then, Neil?
Tommy's my number one pick. Yeah, they're my biggest bet. Of the week.
Yeah, Simon, who was your main pick to win?
Ryan Fox. Ryan Fox, who the last time the Open was played here, shot 29, one of the great 9 holes on the back 9. So he's got that course form. I think now he's a PGA Tour winner. We saw him at Wentworth in horrific conditions when they came back on, when Sky TV and the European Tour got the old arm up the back to Wentworth, shoved everybody back on horrific conditions. Fox played some of the best golf people say ever been played on the European Tour. I mean, Lofty claims, I think when he came back in the Canadian Open, that last day was tricky weather. I think he's physically at an age, at a peak of his powers. And I think if he's ever going to walk through the door.
A bit like you, Simon, in that regard.
Well, you're not the first to say that, Neil, to be fair. He's at the peak of his powers and I'm in the trench of my powers. But I just think, and we're a similar age as well. So I just think that's, I think he's a huge price for a guy with a lot of boxes ticked.
There's been a notable bet on Ryan Fox with Bet Rivers, and now
Wasn't
whether or
me.
not the insider, the special insider edition that came out last Friday, Ryan Fox, of course, was mentioned on there as your suggestion to win the Open Championship, Simon. $1,200, and Ryan Fox at 80-1. If that particular bet or cashes there, he's going to win nearly $100,000.
That fella got your email. He got your preview for sure.
But I want to welcome
$2,000 on it until he read my preview.
Just got to go through some comments, guys, because I'm getting
somebody asked if I like Bryson DeChambeau.
Yeah,
just in case I wasn't clear, I definitely don't like Bryson DeChambeau.
I got the impression you were a fan.
I wouldn't back him at twice the odds. I just think this is just not his course.
No.
Great White Sharp in the
not for
comments. Is that Greg? Is Greg Norman joined the chat? That says Bryson to Mr. Cut, and this is the one bet I was actually looking at. You were the golf experts, but I did look
everywhere.
Bryson plus 250 not to make the cut.
Yeah, I could see that. I could see that for sure.
Yeah. So okay, just going through some more comments here. Producer Troy, if Rahm is in the hunt entering Sunday of a major, he's nearly automatic to finish in the top 10. It's about getting him in the right position.
Do you know in the last two majors, guys, over the last 2 days, the aggregate low scorer is John Ram. So it's interesting Troy's brought that up. But
well, it's funny though, because I'm a massive fan of the 18-hole match bets, and I've noticed over the years in his career, you can always bet Rahm on the Sunday. Once he's out of contention and the pressure's off, he just wipes the floor with some guy who he's like -$2 to beat or -$3 to beat. Every single time it's like printing money. But when he's in contention, different kettle of fish.
True.
Yeah, I think if we look at just go back to Bryson again. I mean, I was having a look at this course, and he really, to me, has no advantage with his length. In fact, if he takes driver, he's going to be in more trouble.
No, I agree. We don't need to talk about him. He's got no chance.
Is that big? Just on the same subject though, that type of golfer, the big hitters, are we kind of ruling them out as well here then? Like your Tony Finau's of this world?
You said it exactly. The advantage that they have on all the other courses is no advantage here. One of the reasons why, golf is getting kind of solved is that the equipment and the way, they hit it now, no golf course is long enough to protect itself from these players. But none of those advantages are good here. Which is, I don't like Aberg, I don't like Bryson. I'm not very keen on Rory this week. I don't want a big hitter.
Who else do you like then here, Neil? You've got obviously Tommy Fleetwood as your main selection. You've got some other
my second one
bets.
Now, we haven't had a big conflab before, Simon and I, but I did mention who I liked as a bet, and he said, "Oh my God, yeah, I agree with you there." So I think we're going to be singing off the same hymn sheet here with Russell Henley. Now, Russell Henley's been around a long time. He's played plenty of Opens, and up until last year, he didn't really look like he liked it all that much. But last year he had his best ever performance in the Open. Just on, he's sixth in the world, number 6 in the world rankings. I'm using the data data golf world rankings, of course. He's number 6. How many people do you have to count before you get to him on that list of betting? That seems a bit stupid, doesn't it? Shouldn't he be somewhere around 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th in the betting if he finished in the top 10 in his last Open and he's number 6 in the world? He comes here in reasonable form. He's 14th on the tour for driving accuracy. He's 6th on the tour for strokes around the green. He's 15th on the tour for strokes gained approach. He's 14th on the tour for the important one, greens and regulation. He's got a top 10 in the Open, and you're getting a massive price. It baffles me actually. I think he's a great bet.
Simon, I know you like him for first round leader. We'll come to that soon.
Yeah,
but I want you to talk to me
for
about
reasons,
Bob. Talk to me about Bob McIntyre, because Neil also likes him. Quite a few comments about him as well.
Yeah, of course, came here last time, finished top 10 as a rookie. So he can draw on that. He's clearly a far more accomplished guy now, a Ryder Cup guy. I think he thinks it's about his time. One thing I will say about him is, that the reason I fancied him so strongly at the US Open was for the tenacity. Well, I think looking at the weather forecast, tenacity, strength of character, all the things that JJ Spawn showed as well on that last day when some of the players with higher skill sets struggled and if not gave up, then thought, oh, well, there's always next week.
I'll tell you what was interesting about
there.
that. I'll tell you what was interesting about that. He had that second, a heartbreaker, really. And then it was like 4 days later, he turned out again. And I thought to myself, I've got to be against him this week because, you know, how can he mentally lift himself? He must be just going through the motions. And he actually turned in a really good performance the week after, which kind of surprised me, really. And I think that shows the character of the man.
You're both going to back him, aren't you? Outright.
The iron play as well that Neil was saying is going to be so important. He hits the ball very low. He's also got a tremendous variety of shot. Now, we're in an era where, I'll just give a quick example. Neil often talks about recency bias, coming back to the dojo. And I think golf, I'm sure you agree with me on this, Neil, golf and golf odds makers are the kings of recency bias. The last thing they've seen takes over the history of the golfing world. Now, Chris Gotterup, a brutal hitter. We saw him at Renaissance last week. I mean, he's a solid PGA Tour player, but he kind of came out of left field there. And we saw on Sunday a battle royale from two of the longest hitters in world golf, Rory McIlroy and obviously Chris Gotterup. Now, quite a negative for Rory that he couldn't put him away, I thought. But at the end of that, I mean, I made some notes, just put in capital letters. Great, fantastic. I'll certainly be looking at him in other tournaments where you've got to be smacking it off the tee. However, this has got no bearing on next week.
Yeah,
that accentuated when I saw the weather forecast.
It's probably a negative, really. I mean, having you know, competed in the last group and all that last week.
A bit of letdown, a bit of letdown. He'll have enjoyed Sunday night.
Walter Bremer asked a question here in the chat. Just want to put it up on screen. He put thoughts on the Scottish Open finishing position and the significance the last 3 Open winners have finished.
Irrelevant.
I mean, that's quite an easy course, really, compared to this one.
First of all, it's a different kind of course. But I think it's important. I think it's better to have come and played the Scottish Open than I can't remember where they were now on LIV last
Valderrama.
week. They were in Valderrama, weren't they? I think if you came over and
Ballybunion and all the links courses.
Yeah, lots of people had the week off and went to La Hinch, didn't they? Which is a similar kind of area to Portrush, and I like that. I think people that took a week and got themselves acclimatized, and that was a bad thing for Henley. Actually, Henley didn't do that. In terms of McIntyre, I would probably be stronger on him. You know what you said is interesting, Simon, about the odds compilers. I actually think he is a little bit too short for me, and he's slightly become, you know, in horse racing we have this expression, you know, a wise guy horse. It's the one that the clever folk, they think they sound clever by saying he's the man, and I kind of feel like a little bit that's happened to McIntyre this week. So slightly too many people are tipping him up, and you know, often in the year you'll get 40 to 1 about McIntyre to win a regular PGA event, and he's 33 to 1 to win a major here. Having said that, I would be really upset with myself if I didn't have something on him. So
I see that.
I've had a little bit.
But if you think he's too short, Neil, then you look at the overall prices and see Aberg at 25s, some of the guys in front of him, and suddenly he veers quickly back into value.
I mean, you know, the people above him in the betting, Hovland, Aberg, Schauffele, and DeChambeau, you know, I just think are very short prices relatively. Whereas McIntyre, I'm slightly guilty here of backing someone who I think is about the right price, which, you know, is not the way to make money in betting. You got to bet people that you think should be much shorter than the price. But you know, they're fine margins, and in absolute terms, you know, he's a decent price, isn't he? He's not, you know, I'm not taking 20 to 1. It's and as a kind of spread of bets, you know, I'm backing half a dozen people.
I just want to talk to you,
Neil,
Neil,
it's
about
all right to do that.
Your other two picks there. So we've got Tommy Fleetwood down 20 to 1, Russell Henley 50 to 1, Bob McIntyre 33 to 1. We'll talk about Sepp Straka in a minute, but you now are going to be going against one of your own golf betting rules. Now, in
Go
the
on, what was
past,
that? I said I don't back the Liv players.
yes, you scrubbed them out. Now, Tyrrell Hatton has done enough to tempt you out of Liv retirement here.
I mean, I don't. It's tricky, isn't it? Because my view on the Liv is, or the players that come from the Liv to play in majors, I've got a couple of things I don't like about it. One is I think the punters only get 4 chances a year to bet these guys at biggish prices in a full field. And I think the punters never miss that opportunity, and they're always a bit overbet. Because, that's if you're a DeChambeau fan, how many other times in the year are you going to get a chance to get 20 to 1 about him? So you've got to be on, even if you know in your heart of hearts this is not his course and you should be waiting for the US Open next year. But having said all that, I think this is the kind of golf that I didn't used to think this was the kind of golf for Tyrrell Hatton, but I now think it might be. He comes in a bit of form, and I just think he's got an open record, and I think he's a fair price. Although I used to hate him, and partly because of the whole thing that you said, Simon, the John Rahm thing, the being a grumpy and being, getting down on himself and, slightly costing himself strokes by worrying about something that's happened rather than thinking about something in the future, which is a terrible way for a sportsman to be.
Yeah, I wonder whether Hatton's in on the joke a little bit, whether some of it is done with a wink when
I think you're right. I think you're right.
Yeah. I am betting in the top Liv.
I think top Liv is quite interesting in terms of players around him and the betting. If you can get him in a match bet with Xander or in a match bet with Victor Hovland, I think he's a great bet. I think he's very solid. I think he'll come in the top kind of dozen. And, I just think those guys might struggle to make the cut.
In 2024...
Can I say one thing about Victor Hovland, Steve, quickly, which I think sums him up? I'm a huge fan of the guy. I remember following him around at Wentworth, and I've rarely seen him.
I love him. I'd rather go for a beer with Victor Hovland than Tyrrell Hatton.
Yeah. Well, so I can set up. Right. This guy said, "Are you betting Victor Hovland? You're a huge fan of him." And he just put this, and I thought that sums it up why many of us aren't. And he said, if Victor Hovland gets up and has got no idea what he's going to do, then how can we have? And he's become, and when you bet him, he's become what I call the coffee break horror. So he's in third, you sneak for the coffee. You don't want to leave the coverage, but the man's got a drink. You pop the kettle on, you come back, and you start smacking the keyboard. Something wrong with my leaderboard. Hovland's not on it. He's in second. Ring up Google. Somebody goes, "Oh, did you not hear?" "Oh, I'm sorry." Now, he's become the coffee break horror, and for me, I just can't go back in. He's the type of guy who's going to win twice a year.
See, Simon's house is so big, it takes him about half an hour to get to the kettle. That's the problem, really. That's what we're finding out here.
See, Victor Hovland would do well somewhere like Pinehurst, where you can actually put, like Martin Keimer did to win there. But he's chipping. At times, he's so poor, I would fancy him in the chipping contest.
Steve, if he goes over the greens because of these gusty winds, he's going to be one of them who's going to not get back up. He's going to come back to his feet.
Okay, there, wouldn't he? But just go back to 2024. There were 6 live golfers who had top 10 finishes in majors. 3 of those were Bryson DeChambeau. Already in 2025, we've had 8 top 10 finishes for live golfers. So, based on that, maybe they're starting to be a bit more motivated again to actually perform in these majors, stuff like that. So I can see why you're ending your live drought here and backing Tyrrell Hatton, Neil. Simon, talk to me about 2 big prizes. We're talking over 100 to 1 here on 2 golfers in the outright market, Brian Harman and Daniel Brown. Yeah.
Well, start off with Brian Harman.
He's an enigma, isn't he, that Daniel Brown?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Give me a minute. I'll get one. I'll just get a coffee. The thing about Brian Harman is, I think that 2 years ago, the Hoylake, the Liverpool, I think that might tell us a lot more about this week, or equally, than the last time it was played here, conditions wise. And I thought at the weekend, we talked then with Neil about what you're going to need, the driving accuracy, the metronome down the middle when everyone was going in the thick rough, the tremendous iron play, and the scrambling, but also the power putting. I remember Faldo saying on the Sunday that everyone was on Tommy Fleetwood, certainly with the British TV coverage, and he said Harman is aiming at the flag, aiming at the hole, but he's aiming to go at least a foot past, and he fancies himself to get it back if he misses. And if you remember, he was hitting the ball hard and he was holing them. Fleetwood was almost tickling the ball, almost trying not to miss. And of course, like Harman did the business in a hostile environment. And I think for the first time, he's going to get back to those conditions. He comes here in reasonable form. This is the guy who just can't win on the PGA Tour most weeks. He doesn't hit far enough. But that skill set that he does possess, and he's a very tenacious character, I think he's going to get it. I think he's an absolutely huge price at 7 places.
125 to 1.
Yeah. And the worse the weather forecast you get, the more he's going to be licking his lips.
And Dan Brown?
Well, Dan Brown, let me say some stuff about Dan Brown. Yes.
200 to 1.
Said, yeah. I mean, Dan Brown, 10th last time. He, I've got it. Sorry, my play. Here we are. Right. He finished 10th last time. He comes here as the recent BMW International Open winner. So he's got current form as well as links form. He's a very, very, very accurate player. 2 years ago last year in the Open, I think he was first in driving accuracy. He's played in the amateur championship when it was here several years ago. It was a double format. I think he won the stroke play element of it. So we had that course form, and he is the type of guy just to sneak through. Now, we're on about wise guy picks. A couple of weeks ago, this was sort of whispered in golf betting groups where these sad people get together and discuss the 400 to 1 shot that nobody else knows about. Well, the cat's out of the bag. Of course, he wins the BMW, and now the market sort of found him. He's even been cut since our newsletter went out, I'm sure, coincidentally. But I still think he's going to have a good week. Very, very solid to make the cut in those sort of markets. Wouldn't surprise me to see him be 5th, 6th. Matthew Norman, of course, is the other guy who fits that bill. Matthew, who's finished 10th in the last 2 Opens. 2 years ago, he shot 71, 71, 71, 71. One of the great cards for the 4 days. Again, a short hitter, but an accurate hitter. Good with greens in regulation. What I was impressed about him last year was that he stuck the course. We always get these lesser names that we see on the Friday, don't we, and the Saturday, and a few of them you watch and you're thinking, by Sunday afternoon you'll be in the kind of deep recesses of the memory. You'll be so far down the leaderboard. But this guy just loiters, and of course, because he finishes top 10 in the Open, it kind of sorts out his year. He's invited back to the Open. He wins a pot full of cash. He has a couple of other good finishes. And he comes here, I think, fairly confident of a big week. You can get him at 400 to 1. Now, if we just look at the pure stats, we all sit together and I say, guys, you want 400 to 1 on the guy who's finished 10th the last 2 years? I'd be really surprised if he said no.
Yeah.
We're going to get these people. We've been through the list of the prices up to 400, 500, 600. So these do cop. I think on Friday night, a lot of the big names will be going home and we will have a really open weekend.
Neil, Sepp Straka, you mentioned that he comes out pretty well on a lot of your stats for this course.
Well, he does, yeah.
He's another outright for you, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I looked at, what did I look at? I looked at 7 different stats that I liked. He was above average for the tour in only one of those, which was strokes gained around the green. And he was only just worse than average in that. I would say he's close to average. He's better than average, but not far better than average in scrambling. So his short game is not super good. It's not elite, but his driving accuracy, he's 17th on the tour. Par 5 scoring, he's 6th. Greens of regulation, he's 4th. Strokes gained approach, he's 4th. That is elite, and this guy, he's 19th in the world and he's about 19th in the betting, but he's got so many people ahead of him in the betting. He's not actually 19th in the betting, he's more like 12th, but he's got so many people ahead of him who are not going to be suited by this course at all. And I actually think he does struggle a little bit on the tour in terms of length, a little bit. But where he's 48th for strokes gained off the tee, and he's 17th for driving accuracy. That tells you what you need to know about what he's doing on his tee shots. And I think that's the kind of player you want. This is a course for the shot into the green, the people with the silky skills with the irons, and that's it. He's just such a kind of smooth iron player. That's what I like.
Some side markets as well, Neil, here to look into for you. You're interested in the top Danish player and also the top senior player. Let's start with the Danes. John Axelson, I've genuinely never heard of him at 33-1. Apologies if he's watching.
Actually,
the rest
to
of
be
it
honest,
looks
just
I've never
left
heard
the
of him either.
Who are you going with in the top Dane market, Neil?
I'm going for Thorben Olesen. So it's Watcher Olesens. He's actually not really called Thorben. I think they're both actually called Jacob.
Cliff.
But people call him Thorben for some reason. I don't know why any of that is. I mean, generally in these I don't spend a lot of time on these top country people or top senior or top lefty or whatever. I look for the ones where there are people that I just think they're easy to cross out. Now, the reason I liked the top Danish was because I really like the Højgaard brothers. I think they're both brilliant. I actually backed Nicholas Højgaard last week, and he got a place for me at a big price. And Rasmus, I think, is a brilliant player. But basically, they're all about length. That's what those two do. And that's basically 90% of what they do. And, when I said Nicholas, I didn't mean Nicholas Norgard. I backed Nikolai Højgaard last week. So there's a recency bias for you. He was 150-1 last week to win. No, I've got that wrong. He was 70-1 last week to win the Scottish Open. And now he's favourite to be top Dane against people who were way shorter than him last week. So there is some recency bias there. But him and his brother basically are just, smack it off the tee people. And this is not a smack it off the tee course. So I just thought I want to be against them. There's a couple of people that, are huge prices in this list. And I thought, well, I've got a solid one against them. So that was basically my thinking there. It wouldn't be my biggest bet of the week. My ears pricked up when I saw the price.
Top senior, and we'll get Simon's thoughts on the top senior as well here.
Well,
this one really did interest me. I like
this one. I really liked. And this one, in terms of staking, I've had about 5 times more on this one than I had on the top Dane. I like the top Dane. I'm not, it's not a nothing. So I don't know whether you were following or whether I didn't watch it myself, but the US Senior Open was 3 weeks ago. And so that was basically Sink was the runner-up, and he's the favourite in this market, and Harrington won the thing. So actually, I think Sink is a big danger to Harrington in this market. But again, when I'm looking at these, I'm just looking for people that I can rule out. I could not have Phil Mickelson on my mind. I mean, we've said already that this is a tournament that rewards accuracy. It doesn't reward huge power off the tee. Phil Mickelson is not an accurate driver. He's a boom boom. And that's just not what you want here. And then your other people in that list, Lee Westwood, I mean, he's kind of given up golf, hasn't he, virtually? And Clark and Leonard. I mean, Clark started well here in 2019 and then faded really badly over the weekend. He's 6 years older now. I mean, these people are knocking on. Whereas Harrington plays regularly, practices regularly, and he's bang up for it because of obviously the whole, Portrush thing. He tees off first tomorrow. He's in the first group, which is a great honour for him. I think he's just going to try so much harder than most of these people. I do think Sink is a danger. I actually think it's pretty much a match between them. But Harrington, you get a bigger price, and they just met a few weeks ago, and Harrington beat him.
Poor Stuart Sink, when he won the Open, no one wanted him to win the Open, did they? Because he beat off Tom Watson. Simon, you're not actually, well, you might be betting in this market, I don't know, but you really like Harrington to make the cut.
I do, but for a lot of the same reasons. But now Neil's given that, I am going to bet in that market as well, the top senior. I think it's a fantastic bet. And of course, by the very definition of it being what we call a Swan Vesta, a match, then it is both Harrington and Sink are value. And like Neil said, if Sink couldn't beat him on a neutral venue, and he's now coming into Harrington's lair, I don't think he's going to beat him this week, but also to make the cut. I mean, this is a guy who's in incredible physical shape. He still hits it. Miles is one of the great iron players. He's always had a great short game.
And that's it. That's the other thing. This course has really suits him, doesn't it? He's not really ever been a big hitter. He's been an accurate guy with a great short game.
But what it means, he hits it as long as many on the main tour still. Not that he's a Chris Gottlieb or whatever, but he isn't going to be like 40, 50 yards behind his playing partners like some of the seniors are. But that short game is incredible. And also, let's. I'm not saying we should factor this into our bets, but there's 250,000 people going to be here this week. Now, 249 and maybe 3 are going to be supporting anybody who's from the island of Ireland. And
he's a nice guy as well. You know, he does social media and stuff. People like him,
apart from that reporter that they nearly laid out. He doesn't like him. But Harrington's going to be like carried along on this sea of like goodwill. Now, that might be difficult for Rory, and he cited it as an issue last time, but that's a separate thing. Harrington's been around the block. He's going to relish the people cheering him onto every tee. So I think he's two great bets, the top senior and to make the cut. I fully expect him to be teeing it up Saturday morning, Steve. I think at plus money, that is massive.
The next bet is going to be quite a sensational bet. There's going to be a few, eyebrows raised here. This is where this is going to be very interesting. You've got 3 other players that you are going to back, and they're going to be to not make the cut. The first one on the list that you don't think is going to make it through to Saturday.
You're going to say
Rory McIlroy. Simon,
I'm not saying
you're going to have to do some convincing here.
Everything has a price. Now, he missed the cut last time it was here. I don't read anything into last week except a slight negative that he couldn't get the job done because the brutal power he showed around Renaissance is going to be of no use to him. He struggles often, not always, but often by hitting the ball very high off the tee when it gets windy. I think he's looked distracted since he won the Masters. I don't want to get too much into sort of noises off, but I think that he's moved continent. He's got some things that might be tense. And I think that unlike Harrington, unlike Lowry, who'll lap it up, I think he finds it awkward, or he did last time. And I just think everything has a price. I'm not saying if you offered me even money, but at 450, I think a host of big names are going to go out. And we've seen him just distracted and play so many bad shots since he won the Masters. I mean, please, people, do look back. I'm basing this on reality, honestly. And he missed the cut last time it was here. He's very hit and miss. And remember that this guy who went so long without winning a major, then won one, has played a lot of bad golf in majors. And we mustn't get too hung up on the Masters win that completed his full set. It was a long time between drinks. And I just think at the prices, I think that's just a bit too big. So, yeah, Rory to be going home on Friday, back to the mansion in Wentworth. Let's not spill too many tears.
2 more.
Even bigger than my house.
Ludwig Åberg and Dustin Johnson, also on your paid list.
Well, DJ, I mean, we call it the hang the DJ system now for all you Smiths fans out there. I mean, this is a guy who on his golf bag, it says gone fishing. I mean, this is the man who cashed it in. I mean, look, folks, recently, it's been a sad sight to watch this once great world number 1 tee it up in major championships. And the only thing I could advise people to make it slightly less sad is if you cash some greenbacks when he misses the cut on Friday night. And the last one, I played golf recently with a Swedish guy who was very upset with me when I said, I don't know why I upset people by saying these things, but I said I thought Åberg was the most overrated player in world golf.
Oh,
and he didn't like that. Now, Neil, we mentioned the Højgaards. If you look at the price of the Højgaards this week or in a standard week, they will be 5, 6, 7, 8 times the price of Åberg. Then you bring up their golfing CVs, Neil. It's as strong as his, if not much stronger. Yet for some reason, he's the wise guy, Bet. He's the guy who people think is going to be the next big thing. He broke through with 2 wins. They weren't in massive tournaments.
Well, he's 29th in the world and he's 5th in the betting.
I couldn't agree with you more. The stats suggest to me he should be about 66 to 180 to 1 before you even considered betting him this week. On recent form, he's been missing cuts in majors. He's another one. Book the plane Friday night. Don't worry about any of the surcharges to put it off till Monday. You're going to be out of there.
Neil, what are you expecting from Rory this week? He is obviously, we've got House Specially. I've got to mention this. Scotty Scheffler and Rory McIlroy both to finish in the top 10 at plus 245.
Yeah, no, I don't want to bet that. No, I'd bet the no there for sure. I don't really fancy Rory. I mean, I'm not saying he can't win. I just think at the prices, I don't want to be on him. I don't think this course will suit him. So I'm not a Rory man. I don't know whether I haven't gone through the 72-hole matchups. I should go through them. There's so many markets to look at. I don't know how many markets Bet Rivers have. 157 or something. But I would be keen to look for Scotty Scheffler over Rory McIlroy 72-holer. I would lay $1.20 there and be quite happy to do that, I think.
We're going to talk about some match bets for.
Yeah, there are some out there. Yeah.
You got some 18-holers there, have you?
Yeah, I don't know.
First rounders, yeah, but there is some tournament matchups, yeah.
I'm sure there are. There's time, isn't it? I just think.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, there were. They're not many, but there's a couple that stood out.
We'll come to them soon, but I'm going to look at some 3 balls.
Sorry.
Okay.
If you're in America, you have got to be up early for some of these.
In England, you've got to be up early. I'm in England and it's 6:46 a.m. for Easthausen.
This is your first bet, Neil.
Well, he's worth getting up early for. He's definitely worth getting up early for. Migliozzi, he's all over the place off the tee. He could be, out of bounds on the first 3 holes, really. And KJ Choi, well, I mean, he's older than Simon. I think Oosthuizen, he likes links play. He's a links golfer, and I think he's doing all right. Really, I'm actually quite surprised that's a very good price, minus $1.18. I actually took minus 125 today. So if you can get a minus 118 with Bet Rivers, I would suggest you do that. I'm currently not stateside, so sadly I shall just look at that and wave at the price as it goes. But I think that's a strong one.
The second one there, we've got Thomas Dietrich, Chris Gotterup, who just won the tournament in Scotland, and Lee Westwood, who sensationally qualified at Dundonald Links with a brilliant round. I think he was up there at Valderrama after the first round as well recently. So 2 players in form, but you're going to be going against them here. Thomas Dietrich is going to be a pick, Simon.
Yeah, strong this one. I mean, one of the things I do, I'm fairly sure Neil will as well, is when I look for these 3 balls, I look for somebody I can scrub. Yeah. And Westwood, I just couldn't have. So that creates a bit of value in the rest. Now, recency bias. Chris Gotterup won last week. I've already mentioned that I think it's of no relevance, and I'm going to take him on in a tournament match bet. I think he's been so cut ridiculously for this. Thomas Dietrich's got an impressive body of results over the last 2-3 years. He's featured in leaderboards in majors. He's led majors after round 1 and round 2. And for him to be considerably bigger than Gotterup, I think this is a must bet.
Tea time at 4:47 Eastern time here. Sam Burns, Brooks Koepka, and Aldrich Pogačar. Is that how you pronounce him, guys? I always get him wrong. Pogačar,
yeah. I mean, the longest hitter in world golf, even longer than Chris Gotterup. Again, for what we've been saying, what is that going to get him? He's got a terrible short game. Brooks Koepka looks a shadow of his former self, and Sam Burns, I mean, for the first 3 rounds in a not a similar golf course, but a similar style, if you like, and weather. Sam Burns played sensational golf, and at plus money, I think he's a bet tomorrow.
The final one there, Neil, Aaron Rice, Sahith Theegala, and Harry Hall. Who's the pick?
Well, it's a bit like what Simon said just a second ago. I just this one stood out because I want to be against Sahith. I actually think Sahith is injured, isn't he? There's a good chance.
Yeah, he's got bad neck injury.
I thought he might pull out of the tournament. I was slightly surprised he was still in. I could have bet either of the other two. Aaron Rye, I don't hate. I mean, Aaron Rye is super accurate off the tee. You know, he's number 2 on the tour for accuracy in driving, and he's pretty good on all the other categories. But he has no open form, and I just think Harry Hall is, he's a classy player. So, and he's a bigger price of the two. So I did quite like that one. I thought it's not really a negative for Rye, and it shouldn't be read as a negative for Rye at all. But it's very much a negative for Thegala. So
how about a little novelty bet, Neil, between me and you? What price will you give me that Harry Hall's hat blows off in round 1?
I feel like I'm gonna get an earful of cider. He wears a kind of a old man's flat cap, doesn't he? I think.
Yeah, the old Bryson. Yeah, the old.
Yeah, like Bryson. Yeah, that kind of.
But
thing.
It's going to be windy. It's got to be an issue.
Yeah.
We'll talk about it later.
So biggest first round wagers. There's been nearly $15,000 placed on Marco Peng to beat Cameron Smith. Now I've never actually heard of Marco Peng.
Oh, he's playing well at the moment.
But apparently that is a very
Simon hangs out in a lot of WhatsApp groups where they're always talking about Simon and his Peng.
Well, quite. And of course, he likes a bet, Marco. Got him in a bit of bother. We'll skirt over
really?
that.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
But first round leader. You like Russell Henley here, Simon?
I think it's massive. I think it's massive. All the reasons that Neil has given. This is a guy who, if we did a part 2, and I'm sure that many will quickly go, no, please, no.
Some people will be wondering how we lasted this long.
Exactly, it's probably part 1. But if we put an identikit player together, I mean, they would come out looking much like Russell Henley. And of course, for these top. The thing about Henley, people always said the bottler, a bit unfair, and I think he has toughened up mentally. But again, it's not the bleeding obvious. But we're not asking him to win the tournament. We're asking him to use his skills and be leading after round 1. I think it's massive.
Anyone you like first round leader, Neil?
It's not a market I often play for a couple of reasons. One is I think it's less competitive with the bookmakers. There's not so many people. There's a lot of people pricing up and then a bunch of other people just copying the prices. You don't get such cutthroat opposition. The other thing is that if you're looking to sort of oppose a few of the front ones, obviously because it's just over one round, it's more random and basically the favourites are bigger and the outsiders are shorter. So it doesn't kind of reward you for searching for big prices. I see a couple of people suggesting Justin Rose on the basis that he seems to be the first round leader in a lot of majors. But I just can't really have him this week at all. I think he's terrible off the tee, and he's really bad scrambling, and his greens in regulation are awful. I couldn't really have him at all.
And he's paired with Bryson as well, which is a circus.
Yeah, the other thing about the first round leader is I really like to play it when I think you can, get an edge on the weather. And I'm not really sure whether you want to be late early or early late at the moment. Yeah. I've looked on several sites, and there looks to be you could go either way, couldn't you? I don't think it may not be a strong advantage. I sort of feel like perhaps you want to be late on Thursday and early on Friday. So maybe I might look among the really late people on Thursday and see if I can find someone there that I like. I can't remember when Stracker's teeing off. Do you know that one?
Ooh, off the top of my head, I think he's early. I like early late.
You like early late? Okay.
I like early late. And Stracker,
have you done more weather study than me? I've just had a quick glance
I'm into
like
my weather.
Sites.
I'm a cricketer. I'm a golfer. I have to know the weather. I've got all the weather apps everywhere on my phone and all sorts of stuff. And I did notice that Sepp Stracker was early late, actually. So,
I guess you could do the people that are extreme as well. People that are really early and people that are really late on the basis that, if it's going to be a big advantage, they're going to get the best of the advantage, whatever way it goes. I don't think the people that are sort of late in the morning or early in the afternoon are going to win the first round leader because they just get a bit of both. If there is a big edge one way or the other, you want to be on it.
I think Friday evening looks nice time to be on the course, but
Yeah,
this
that's what I
forecast could
thought,
change.
yeah.
It could change.
Yeah.
4:36, Stracker.
Okay.
James
Well,
Wilson time.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think Stracker then maybe for first round lead it could be interesting.
Just a couple of other bets here, Simon. There's so many markets in the Bet Rivers.
There are so many markets.
Top 40 finish. You mentioned him before, Matt Jordan, but also a South African who I do believe you profited from in the US Open.
Well, Christian Bezuidenhout, we get top South African. Now, not on that one, but he kind of had a great week. But the South African guy that had played Dreadford all week that I discounted looked like he was going to win, didn't he? So that's where it can go wrong, these markets where you think that people are non-runners. However, he's a brilliant player of difficult golf courses. He doesn't hit the ball very far. He's very steady, very good at greens in regulation, very, very much a kind of quiet guy. I thought a plus money to be in the top 40 was one of them that to sort of, pulled me up a chair. And Matthew Jordan, let's just look at the top 10, but not that. The fact that he's got good course form, the fact that he's got he'll be one of the top 10 in fairways hit. He's very, very good around the greens. He hits the ball very, very low. He grew up playing these type of courses around Southport and Morecambe, where not very far away from here, where he would have played in very similar conditions. Plus 260. I'll say that the Harrington bet that Neil's given, the Harrington bet for making the cut, the Matthew Jordan plus 260 and the Bezuidenhout plus 163, top 40, I think they'll be among the strongest bets of the week.
Russell Henley, minus 110, top 40. That looks a big price to me. He's not the sort of player. He's either going to miss the cut. He's not the sort of fellow who's just going to scrape in the cut line. If he makes the cut, he's going to be knocking on probably the top 25 door for me. Just some notable wages.
He's the sort of guy, Steve, who'll be in fifth on Thursday and Friday. You think he might put a run together and you'll look, well, where did he finish, Henley? Oh, he was 38th. Not bad. He's that kind of guy, isn't he?
I thought you were going to say he was going to finish 9th when I bet him first 8 or something.
As long as he first round leads, he can finish where he wants.
Biggest long shot bet, as I said, was Ryan Fox, $1,200 at 80 to 1. There's also been, and I've got a stat for you here. I left this at the end. All of the last 11 Open Championship winners have had a previous top 2 finish in a major, at least 3 top 15 finishes in the last 5 starts, a top 40 ranking in the golf rankings, a top 3 finish on the PGA Tour already this year, and a prior top 20 in the Open. And that actually narrows it down to just 4 golfers.
Go on.
Scotty Scheffler, Bryson DeChambeau, Keegan Bradley, JJ Spawn, and if you fudge it, if you include the LIV rankings and the data golf rankings, John Rahm as well. Now, it's interesting that $600 has been placed on Keegan Bradley at 90 to 1, and someone has nibbled JJ Spawn again at 100 to 1. So I think that stat might well end this year. And
our producer, Night Owl John, is a big JJ Spawn man this week.
He is.
That's one shrewd cookie.
How do we think JJ Spawn's going to do after his US Open? Surely there's a come down, right? Or not?
I mean, he's had a few weeks to get used to the idea, hasn't he?
He's accurate, though, isn't he? He's pretty accurate off the tee, so I can see why.
He's mentally strong. We know that. Sadly.
Neil, what would be your best bet from the Open? Out of all of those,
I think I don't know. I mean, honestly, I've had so many bets. I think. Well, my strongest bet on just the outright market is Tommy Fleetwood, and I just think I don't worry about all that kind of mental side. I think he's just very strong. I guess Harrington top senior might be the best bet I've had so far, though. I think that's just a really good bet.
Yeah, someone was just asking for the outright picks again. I'm going to list them here. These were Neil's picks in the outright market. 7 places: Bob McIntyre 33 to 1, Tyrrell Hatton 25 to 1, Sepp Straka 45 to 1, Russell Henley at 50 to 1, and Tommy Fleetwood, your main pick there at 20 to 1. Simon, Ryan Fox at 60 to 1, Bob McIntyre as well, 33s. Got Russell Henley, first round leader, and Brian Harman 125 to 1, and Daniel Brown at 200 to 1. What's your best bet for the Open, Simon? There's a couple I've missed off here. It's the matchups, the 72-hole matchups. Just list them quickly here before we go.
They are He said, "While I'm doing that, I'll give my best bet." How about that? They're Nick Taylor minus 103 to beat Harris English. Nick Taylor is a poor man's Russell Henley. No offense to him and his family. So minus 103. I can't get on with Harris English, despite everything I've tried. And Ben Griffin, second one, who I know Channers is a fan of, minus 120 to beat the king of the recency site, the king of the recency bias. It's been a long night. Chris Cotterup. I cannot have that. So
you're going against Cotterup or wherever you can. That sounds like quite a good one. I like that.
Yeah.
What's the best bet then, Simon, for the Open for you?
The best bet for the Open is Porrig Harrington to still be there on Saturday morning at plus money.
140
to make the cut.
Make the cut.
Yes.
And well, that will have to do. We've had 70 minutes of great action. Thank you so much to both of you.
Pleasure.
And thanks to everyone who's been watching on X.
That's 70 minutes is the longest I've gone without having another golf bet today so far.
You're going to be straight back on it after this show.
I'm going to be straight back on it. I got the 72 old matches to go through.
For the next 2 minutes is going to have that grandfather clock whirring around.
Simon, is there going to be Instagram content for this?
I'm going to do a exclusive first round 3-ball, and then we'll take it and see how we're going. But there'll be bets that have not featured here and bets that have not featured in the newsletter.
Basically, keep winning, you're in. Keep winning, and you're in. Keep winning the picks, and you can have another one the next day, basically.
Well, I believe a sort of low-key version of that, yeah.
I've got to mention the newsletter before we go. The Betting Weekly Insider will be released on Friday. For those who are new to the stream here on X, on YouTube, or whatever, then do sign up for free. I put the link there. And for anyone who isn't subscribed to the channel, please do hit that subscribe button. It doesn't cost you anything. Neil, you're really good at doing this on the dojo.
Yeah,
we need the likes as well, don't
subscribe. Yeah, I mean, what's not to like? It's free. Press subscribe.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, everyone, to getting us that 10,000 subscribers. We want to get to 11,000 as soon as possible.
Hang on, lads. It's Chris Gotter up. Hang on. No, it's them two that's slagging you off. Gotter up. I never even knew she was in bed. Carry on.
Best of luck with all your picks, guys. Enjoyed this one. Thanks everyone who joined. Sorry I couldn't go through all the comments. There were so many and we had to get through so much, but plenty to look back on. Get your bets on quickly. We are only 13 hours away, 13 and a half hours away from
Louis Oosthuizen teeing off. Come on.
Are you both going to be
Harrington?
Are you both going to be up for the first tee off time?
I'm certain to be. Yeah,
of course.
I want a shot. I've got a cheese collection that several of the bigger cheese collection collectors will be proud of, believe me. So it's going to be quite a few days. It's going to be fantastic. Enjoy it, everybody, and don't be frightened of big prices this week. Do not be frightened.
Remember, everyone, to gamble responsibly. Cash those winning tickets. I'm going to be back tomorrow on Betting Weekly Live with Lewis Jones, and on Friday, I think, with Nigel Seeley. But
just
thanks
stay
so
on,
much.
Steve. Just stay
on. I know. Thanks so much to Simon. Thanks so much to Neil. We'll see you next time on Betting Weekly Live. Betting Weekly Tennis Live in less than an hour. We've got Mitch Michaels and Tim Dennis today is on the show, and Betting Weekly Fast Break later on with Doug Kazarian. Take care, y'all. See you next time.